Welcome to Women Being Loved, a weekly podcast and upcoming book series to help you and other women 35 and beyond attract deep, passionate, lasting love while honoring your authentic self. I'm Tadra, your host. Hello, lovely. I am so happy that you and I are back together. Gosh, it's been 2 weeks since my last episode, and that's not normal for me. If this is your first time here, I normally have an episode every week. But I wasn't around last week because I was moving from, let's just say, a place that did not sit well with me for 6 months back to my beloved California. And so I am in Berkeley now, and all is well with the world, and there are fun things for me to do, and I'm just getting myself settled back in, so it's wonderful. So last week, I woke up at 5 a.m. Those of you who know me, that's kind of my thing. I love getting up super early before the hustle and bustle of the outside world presses in. And when I get up, a lot of times what I do is either I will meditate for like an hour, or I will watch something uplifting and inspiring and expansive on YouTube. And I know you're like, what? There are things like that on YouTube. My husband likes to tease me that I use YouTube as like a prayer source. And he's not wrong. Like, I feel like some days I wake up and I just hop on YouTube, and the thing that I need to hear, the thing that I've been grappling with, like there's a video like right there in front of my face. Like the algorithm is like, here you go, girl. So it's something that I really look forward to. One of the things that I've done to help the algorithm is that I have really curated the kinds of things that I like to watch. So YouTube doesn't suggest to me like a bunch of petty stupidness, like everything that I'm getting these days are like really solid, uplifting things, because I don't want to fill my brain with negativity or gossip or even the news, especially first thing in the morning. I want to start my day off on a positive note, and I want to control how I go into my day. So that's just me. One of my favorite things on YouTube is a channel called Reflections of Life. And if you haven't seen it, let me tell you, it is beautiful, positive, uplifting, and all the messages, they're really about simple parts of life, right? It's not like anything extreme. It's just everyday life, but they make it so beautiful. And the cinematography is stunning. Just a side note, I make short films, and I dream of my films looking like this. I am going to practice. One of their episodes is called What is Love? And that one, of course, caught my attention. And I was watching it last week, and I'm going to put a link in the show notes so you guys can watch it as well. What they did during this episode was they interviewed an older couple that had been together, I'm guessing, most of their adult lives, which is just awesome and amazing. And they asked this couple, what is love? And I was so moved by their answers, because their answers were about everyday moments of their lives together. And how after, like, I don't know, I'm guessing like 40 years they've been together, that they are still learning each other. And I can see that because we continue to grow, we continue to change. So who he knew as his wife when she was 20 or 22 or whatever it was when they married is not who this woman is at like 75 years old, right? So in their interview, they talked about like the different life seasons that they have shared together. I loved particularly that the husband said that a lot of people who have children feel like it's hard for them as a couple when their children leave and they have that whole thing, you know, the empty nest syndrome. But he was like, we don't have that because our kids have grown up and they've gone their way and we've done our duty by them. But now we have time with each other and we get to spend all this beautiful time together. And I was like, what? And he said, we deliberately do things together that we both cherish. Now, do you want to know what this thing was? Well, one of the things anyway, that was at the top of his list that they mentioned that they cherish so much. They watch the sunset together every night. That was it. Such a simple thing, but the two of them doing it together brought them joy. Oh, my heart. A friend recently shared a meme on Facebook that basically said, I'm not going to remember it verbatim, but the gist of it was there are people out here who are in wonderful marriages and enjoying their lives together. Don't let the negative online talk tell you differently. Oh, yes, I agree 100% that is true. I am someone who is in a happy marriage. Women who I interviewed for my upcoming book, they are all in really happy partnerships, marriages, however they want to define it. They're happy. Now, we have had challenges over the years for sure, but never anything that really threatened to undo us at the seams. Money has been our biggest challenge, and it still is, because we are two freelancers together and life tends to be feast or famine. And right now, we ain't in the feast part. No. But we have learned not to use the stress of that to attack each other. And if we do mistakenly snip at each other, we apologize like immediately. And that works for us. Anyway, getting back to this couple. So this couple that I was watching on their video on YouTube, they were just laughing and enjoying each other. Like you could feel it through the screen, right? And like they've been together like decades and decades. And you know, I looked at them and I said, that's going to be us. That is going to be us. If God willing, we live to their ages. Yes, that is what I'm claiming. One of the things they talked about was how they wrote their own vows. And in them, they said they wanted to grow old together. Well, check, they got that, right? So that's a milestone they don't have to worry about. They said they didn't want to hide behind each other and refuse to continue to grow as their own individual selves. So that was part of their vows, which I personally think is really wonderful. When I go to a wedding and I hear, may the two become one. Cool. It's their vows if they want that in there. But for me, I'm like, I don't want to like disappear into another person. And maybe that's not what that means. Maybe I don't know what that means. But to me, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't resonate with me. And so obviously it didn't resonate with this couple either, because they went through the trouble of writing in their vows like, hey, we are still going to be our individual selves. They also said in their vows that they didn't expect the other person to fulfill what is important to them. That's a big one, self-explanatory. And finally, my favorite one that they said was, may our home be a place where people can accept themselves. Okay, I'm going to say that again because that's deep. May our home be a place where people can accept themselves. Oh, I love that. So let's unpack that. It speaks to the two of them, right? But it also expands out to their children and to their community. Accepting ourselves is easier when a space has been created in which we feel safe and seen and not judged. I think we have to deliberately create such a space. And then when we and others are in that space, it's obvious that we're safe. Like we can exhale. We can stop hiding and worrying. Oh, I love that. I love that so much. And I just love hearing other people's vows. I think it's important that we write our own vows. I'm just personally not a fan of those like pre-written vows, because even if they're goofy or like you're not a great writer, I still think coming from your heart, it has more meaning. This got me to thinking about my own wedding vows with my husband. I was married 1 year ago, and well, a little bit more now. We married in April, so I guess like almost a year and a half. And for our wedding, we did like a really, really small in-person ceremony with just like 7 friends in a beautiful garden with a labyrinth. I'm kind of obsessed with labyrinths. And then we had an additional 100 guests who watched the live stream from all over the world. So when you're a nomad and you've traveled or lived in like 18 countries like us, you make friends in a lot of places. And it just would have been unrealistic for us to expect all of these people to fly into LA for like a 25-minute ceremony. Like we weren't doing this huge, like over the top thing. We just wanted something small and chic and simple. And then we did like this delightful lunch at our favorite French restaurant. But we also wanted our friends to be able to celebrate with us. So that's why we chose to do the whole live stream. And people loved it. Like it was interactive. Like they could write on the screen, like, congratulations. They could throw virtual rice, it was really cool. So anyway, vows. A week, maybe like 2 to 3 weeks before the wedding, Paul, my husband, and I talked about how we wanted to say what we felt like from our hearts. And then we just went off alone and we wrote our individual vows that we were going to say to each other. And we didn't share them with each other, which I'm going to share them with you. And it's going to be really obvious that we didn't plan them together. But we wanted to hear them fresh, like the day of, right? So I remember one of my friends watched the live stream and he said, wow, I haven't ever heard vows like yours. And I wasn't sure if that was good or bad. It's like one of those things when people go, wow, that's really interesting, But anyway, it worked for us. So I want to share with you what I said, what my husband said, and just as a preface to say that they really reflect our personalities. And I love that. I am more casual, kind of free-spirited, a little bit goofy sometimes, although I will say Paul can be goofy too. He can be goofy, but he is more methodical, he's more organized, and he's more poetic than I am, which surprises people because like I'm a writer, but he's a writer too. He is. He just hasn't stepped into that fully yet. His writing is really beautiful. So anyway, I want to tell you something about the first line of my vows. So the first line is a private joke between us about who kissed who first on a friend's sofa. And, he says I kissed him. I say he kissed me. And so we've been kind of going back and forth with this for years. So like the wedding vows was me getting in the last word. So let me pull this up for you on my phone. My love, from the very first time you kissed me on that sofa, my heart skipped a beat. But I was also confused because I thought I wanted to be alone. But as the months passed, it was so hard to stay away from you. And as I thought about all the beautiful traits you possess, your kindness, your open-mindedness, your willingness to come for me every time my car battery died, as I considered how you treated the women in your life with respect and loyalty, I realized that you were the kind of man I'd always wanted. So I had a choice to make. Was I going to risk losing you, or would I lean into the opportunity right in front of me? I obviously chose correctly. And I want to say that I'm so glad that it didn't work out with that other girl that I set you up with. I love you so much, and I'm looking forward to the rest of our lives together. So, very informal for vows, I know. Because we've been together for 14 years when we got married, and we were both perfectly fine with that. Our life together was beautiful. There was no pressure, no madness, just love. I didn't feel like I needed to make these grand promises, like I promised to be faithful and I promised to respect you, because he already knew who I was. He already knew that that's who I am, what I do, and what I was doing. So to me, those things are baseline, so I didn't really need to say them. In addition, I've always had this like really deep, rich communication with him. So we share authentically and truthfully. So again, this man already knew me. So my goal with the vows that I wrote was to state my why for choosing him and to list some of the beautiful traits that I saw in him, ways that he'd been faithfully showing up for me and the other people in his life that he loves in very practical, everyday ways. There are just a lot of really beautiful things about him that I wanted to highlight. And I felt like he doesn't always see those things in himself. So my vows were kind of a reminder. And also, I kind of wanted to just make him laugh a little bit. Like I wanted to not make it so serious. He doesn't always realize what a beautiful, consistent, loyal, not the same as faithful. Of course he's faithful. He's always been faithful in every relationship he's had. We were friends for years, so I got to see that. But loyal means something different. It means having my back in every situation. So that's the person he is. And I had a lot of relationships that, no, like people just weren't mature enough to show up like that, right? And he just embodies those things naturally. So in my vows, if I was to sum it up, for me, I was saying, I am so lucky to have you. So now for his vows. As Leos, people often ask how we make it work as fire signs with birthdays 1 week apart. How could two big personalities be a good fit? Carl Sagan said, we are all made of stardust. Well, I think our stuff came from the same star. So I always answer, in you, Tadra, I have found my equal, someone whose fire burns as intensely as my own. I found a person who can challenge me, who can spur my creativity, who can match my conversational style, and who can kindly encourage me to grow in positive directions. In 13 years, we've grown as individuals and as a couple. We've been each other's ally, each other's person, and had each other's back. We found more of ourselves and we grew closer together than I have ever felt to anyone else. Tadra, you know me, you understand me, and you've always supported me. I can't promise that I won't continue to change. I can't promise the world won't change around us. But something I've learned is this. In the face of constant change, my love and my commitment to you has only grown deeper. I promise that I will always strive to be the best person I can be. But now, I no longer do this for myself first. I do this for you. I do this for us. And as evidenced by 13 years, I promise my love for you will continue to deepen. My respect for you will always be my priority, and our future will always be the most important consideration in any decision. No matter where we are, if I'm with you, I'm home. Yeah, I was crying. I should have known, but I didn't expect him to go that intense. And I was just like, oh my goodness, But yeah, it's been this beautiful journey for us, and we are still on it. We are still discovering, we are still unfolding and growing. And I hope in sharing these kinds of things with you, not just like our vows, but the video that I was talking about on YouTube and that couple, I hope that it inspires you. I hope it says to you that there is real love to be had. There is more than the negativity that you hear online and maybe even around you with your friends. And yes, people are struggling in their marriages. People are maybe they've just run their course. I hate to say that, but sometimes relationships have gone the distance and they can't go any further. And two people stay together and then they're just miserable and they just say like, love sucks. And they get really bitter and then they kind of spew that out onto everyone around them. Be careful. Guard your heart from that kind of thing, because I'm imagining if you're listening to this podcast, you want to be open to love. You want to believe that is possible for you. And I believe it is. I 100% believe it is. But I do caution you to surround yourself with people who have successful partnerships, marriages, and you can look at them and you can be like, yes, that is what I am going to have. All right, sis, I am so happy you were here with me today. Sorry that this episode's a day late. I've been just trying to juggle a lot of life, but I am going to try and be consistent. Until next week, I want you to remember that love will find you.